guys, welcome back to my channel where I share my healing journey, my spiritual journey, the good, the bad, the ugly, everything in between, and nothing but authenticity. So in this video, I want to share, I'm a generational curse breaker, okay, as I share in my videos. And if you do not know, welcome guys. If you do not know what that is, it's someone in their bloodline that's called to break all the cycles, okay? I'm sure a lot of people out there know, but I've come across people that do not know. But you're called to break cycles and your past generations, mother and my mother's mother, that were not able to break. Okay, so I was led on my journey at 26 years old, broken, unhealed, and had all these generational things to break. Like, I am not who I was 15 years ago, who I am now. Okay. So anyways, just part of this little process, we're going to talk about, right now in this video, I'm going to talk about, breaking my generational curse, my mom from, narcissism, MPD, toxic relationships, toxicity. I was called to break that. My mom and my grandma were not called to break that. And my mom's mom. So this generation, I was called. So we're going to talk about that, my story. And, I shared a little bit throughout my videos. But it's funny because these last couple of years, I've broken this generous curse. I went through a lot, okay? And I'm just going to give like a recap, and it's funny because when I first come, you don't know nothing about this, you're unhealed, when you come across this person, you're still not healed, you're unawakened, you're uninvolved, so you're learning all this information. This is what generational wealth is, and you're breaking those generational curses, right? So now you learn all this information, all this knowledge about narcissism, so like that. And anyways, so yeah, we're gonna get into that, okay? And just share, I've broken this has been over. I healed, I evolved from all this. But when I first came there, I didn't have all this knowledge, so I have a little more better, to see, same thing in my videos, but like a lot more, very clear, but anyways, it's been a roller coaster. Let me just tell you the stuff I've been through with this, past person, and just, breaking this, off my bloodline. Whether it was, called to go like this. Now, I'm divinely guided. Everything in my life, God is orchestrated. I believe that for everybody, I'm a very, have a very deep relationship, and this is part of the journey. You're a generational curse breaker. I believe in my bloodline. We're very spiritual people, and I come from, the blood of Jesus, and it's my passion, and I've learned so much through my walk. Have a really deep connection. I know who I am in God now. But anyway, this is what I went through in my journey, seeking who I am. And I think I believe I came from ancestral that really had a relationship with Jesus, and because it's really rooted in my blood, But anyways, part of this journey, when you're healing, you're coming to that cross, okay? And you're broken, you're unhealed, and maybe, most of the time people come and they're like, they don't know, well, they don't have a relationship, they don't know about God, they don't know nothing, okay? So that's what I did 15 years ago. And, I surrendered my life. I was baptized 15 and 18, but 26, I surrendered my life. So I started walking, and seeking God and who I am. And you're so broken, like your mindset, your poverty mindset, you're just, unabundant, okay? Let's just say that, and you just had this excitement, after my mom died. I just had this excitement, and something like, the Spirit was leading me, Again, I do a video there about the song, Spirit Lead Me. It was like, perfect song for when he led me back to Colorado after my mom died and on this journey. So anyways, but part of this journey, I remember, just walking and just the way I seen myself, and, of course, the enemy downstairs wants you to, see yourself, broken, healed. Maybe, like I said, I share a lot of my stories, my abuse, sexual abuse, all this stuff like that. I've been through trauma, toxic, watching my mom be abused, all this stuff. You come from your past, right? So now you come to the cross, you get saved, you give your life to God. I give my life to God. And then he starts doing these new things in you, and whatever walk it is in your life, okay? So when you first come, it's not all perfect. You're going to mess up. You're going to fall. You're going to get back up many times. 15 years, you guys, I share it all in here, okay? The reality of, when you really fully get saved and you really want to seek God in your life, But anyways, part of that journey, I remember I was like, oh, I put lipstick on. I never liked it. I just didn't think I looked good, blah, 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 right? Well, part of when I started healing, one day I was like, I put lipstick on again. And I was like, oh my God, I look like so good. You know what I mean? Like, and this is what part of the journey does to you. When you're healing, you're seeing, God wants you to see yourself the way he sees you. That's what he did in my life. He showed me how he sees me. You know what I mean? It's like he's removing the veils off your eyes of who you really are. You know what I mean? Anyways, and so you go through this path, and you come, you'll see me as a very confident, know who you are. And that's what happened in my journey, okay? From coming from not knowing who you are, feeling unworthy, all this stuff, you know what I mean? All this brokenness, about yourself. Anyway, so let me put some of this on for you guys. But I love red lipstick now, you guys. And I just wanted to share that, and it's so beautiful. And just a little version of how your walk with, when you start really seeking him, how he starts making you feel, not other people, not what people project on you. And we're going to talk about that in a minute, but like, not, what the world says, or, what career or whatever, society says about you, but what God sees you as, okay? And he will generally, as you have this relationship with him, show you who you are. And you just walk in this, who you are. You just like, and that's the confidence God wants you to have in your relationship with him, okay? And so let me put, like you could, what's it called? You could go through so much in your life, okay? Like I have, I've been through the ringer, you guys, okay? And in this relationship, God will renew you and make you feel like, I don't know how to explain it, like, Lord, make you new again, you know what I mean? Like, and again, none of that defines you, your past, your life, your situations, like, and that's what he did in my life, you know what I mean? One thing after another, after another, after another, and, again, like I said, we have this, our history, our flesh, and things that happen in the world, but Christ wants you to see yourself the way he sees you, you know what I mean? And, anyways, that was just like an example of the lipstick. And I just like, I don't know, red. No, I love all kinds of colors, pink and all that stuff like that. But I don't know. And then it's the blood of Jesus, you know what I mean? So it was just like, I love red. Anyways, and so Valentine's, Christmas, but anyways, so going forward, I just wanted to share that little clip with you guys. And, yeah, so now I want to talk about, I've broken a generational curse from, part of my healing journey was breaking this, toxicity in my bloodline, okay? And I always look, I'm a healer, so one of my gifts, I get through this process, I have to heal, I have to go through all this, literally go through it, so that way I could share with others as my testimony, and help others that may be on the beginning of the journey, or the spiritual, or whatever. And it's like, now I have this knowledge because I actually been through the work, okay? And I did it, and I healed, and I evolved, okay? And you could, like I said, go through so much in your life and still healed and still feel broken because you've been through so much, you know what I mean? Like, even in your healing journey, you're healing from all this trauma. You're going through the cycles, okay? You have to go through the cycles to break them and to heal from them, okay? So, and then once you get done, from all the main, we call it from the main stuff, you can still feel like, dang, I just went through breaking all these cycles and I'm just exhausted. God, like, and I'm just starting my life, you know what I mean? Like, you're just starting your healing, your beginning of your life, you know what I mean? Because now you're not moving from a toxic place or unhealed place or unhealed mindset, or, you know what I mean? Like, and now you're moving from a confident place, healed place, a whole place in Christ, you know what I mean? And this is how it went on my journey. And so it's like, up until like I think fully, I was like really did a lot of work up until like a year ago. So 41, and I fully healed. So it's like my journey just started. Get what I'm saying? Like my first half was healing from all the stuff I've been through my life and breaking all these cycles, evolving, going through awakening, all that. And now I'm just like stepping into my real self. Okay. And God wants us to get us to this place in our life. It's called the highest place, the best version of yourself. Okay. And, that's what we call ourselves karmics, or before we're healed, we're a karmic, you know what I mean? We're going through all of our lessons and, mistakes, relationships, all this stuff like that in our lives, right? And this is where we call a karmic, okay? And our lower vibrational energies, stupid things we do, you know what I mean? Like, and because our mindset is not who we are healed, you get what I'm saying? And so, anyways, but I had broken a generational curse. I'm trying not to, this is going to be a long video because I want to share this. I broke a generational curse. So now I come across my path to this individual, okay? So, and yeah, so now I went through all this stuff, and I've broken this, in this connection you called a break. Went through, a lot of, hurt and pain and stuff like that. And so, anyways, I come across this individual and nothing about. So now, this person, in this dynamic, you think, with this person, you're gonna, you're supposed to heal. And my thought, you come together and you evolve, you heal together, and you grow, and you grow together, right? And you evolve together. But in my situation, that didn't happen. Okay, so I came across this individual, and this was in the beginning, a very energetic connection. So this again shows there's a lot of evolved. So on this other person's end, chose to listen to a lot of people. It chose to go in a karmic relationship. These connections, you're supposed to learn your karmic lessons, right? So anyways, I can see the bigger picture now, but like this person chose to go, in a whole nother connection at the time. And that was supposed to be a karmic, okay? And this person was supposed to, learn a karmic lesson, boom, 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 done. It didn't happen that way. And this person chose on this end, family, this karmic, and then he chose to listen. So I came across this person, unawakened, and I was just going through my awakening. I was like, didn't know a lot about this stuff. Oh, so much confusion, the devil brung. Anyways, and so, like I said, I went through a lot, a lot of pain, a lot of hurt. And anyways, this person chose to go out and listen, okay, a karmic, and karmic family members, karmic relationship. And anyways, so when this person was meant to work with me, but instead worked against me, okay? So now, I was genuine to this person. I really poured, because it was a very, at the beginning, spiritual connection, okay? So I was trying to genuinely, as an empath, you're trying to, and if not a fixer, but you like to help people, you know what I mean? But, you see the problem, you see the issue, and it's like, okay. But, I learned in this connection that we're not called to fix nobody. People, you come across people, and a lot of people in this world are unhealed, okay? So people have to heal themselves, and heal those wounds for themselves, okay? So anyways, I come across this individual, and anyways, so he chose to, work against me. Didn't speak to me about this connection. I try to, again, speak about this connection, you guys, and talk about, this was a really strong, I knew a little bit, what I knew. And this person chose not to talk to me, anything, okay? Now, God already knew who this person was when I first came across him. He knew what he was going to do, right? God sees everything. He sees your enemies. He sees everything that's going to happen to you. He's prepped you. He's prepped me, okay? So he already knows what I'm going to go through. He already knows how I'm going to get through it. I'm going to evolve. I'm going to heal from it, okay? Now, and God sees people's intentions behind this. Now, I was just very vulnerable when I first came across. I was not evolved like I was now. I went through an extension, a big awakening. So I was just, vulnerable, just very pure-hearted to this person. Generally spent a couple of years, like I was like invested, energetically, and I don't feel no bad. Like I said, I went through a healing process. I healed and forgave. And I don't, on my end, healed from all this stuff, okay? And I genuinely cared in the beginning, okay? When you go through this process, in the beginning you care, you think, narcissistic, you generally care, right? Especially in an empath. So this person chose to listen to the karmic, all these people that were pouring lies, all this confusion, okay? And now all this witchcraft was happening to me, okay? So now I blocked his energy, you know what I mean? Like, I blocked all this. Now I'm sitting here tripping all this, and I was very vulnerable. I mean, like, I went through so much, and I was very hurt by this. And again, tears, crying, and this person chose to be my enemy, you know what I mean? And again, I knew, and I tried to help this person the best way I can. And I knew he was going into this, the karmic, and I tried to give him, wisdom and knowledge, because a real friend, I do have a video about that, about how, a friendships, frenemies and friend, okay? So at the time, I thought, so I tried to, the best way I had told them, the situation, real friends tell people, hey, that person's going to hurt you, lie, still, use you, right? And I wasn't like that. Now, this person chose to judge me and chose, because I didn't come in the package he thought I was supposed to come in or whatever, you know what I mean? And chose to go, there's a lot of people, again, the karmic, we call it karmic, or a woman, MNT, that he chose to work with at MPD, chose to lie and do all this stuff. Now, I wasn't healed, so I, on the other hand, I wouldn't speak up for myself, or, you know what I mean, like I am now, and of course, this is part of the process of this, you go through all this, because at the end of the day, you go through a lot and stuff like that, but there's a purpose for it, and and God wanted me to heal, and he knew I was going to be where I'm at today. And so anyways, and so you go, and so anyways, all this, projection, lies, him mocking me, he chose to work against me, okay? Pretty much, you get what I'm saying? And I was alone. And I was, God put me in this person's presence as a blessing in these people. So these people, he chose to take that energy as energetic. So he took that energy that was that love for me, and he poured it into somebody else, okay? Of course, you can see that, where you could get hurt and stuff like that. And anyways, didn't ask me nothing, okay? Nothing, okay? Or have an adult conversation, blah, 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 right? Again, this person was wearing a mask, okay? And, but this person knew, okay? He knew what he had. He just thought, again, judgmental, thought I was just gonna, sit around. I was just puppy. I'm a very observant person, so I did observe, because I didn't know about this, all this information. I was getting all these downloads. I was observing, you know what I mean? I like to see, people's character, see how you're gonna treat me, like, right? So I did. I observed, and as soon as I knew what this person was doing, anyways, and so that's when, this person was my enemy, okay? So now I blocked this person, and no trust, you know what I mean? Again, I was going through all this stuff while I was, blocked this person, and but again, this person, I was safe, okay? I was the one safe, trying to help this person, trying to share the knowledge I had. I don't want this person to get hurt, you know what I mean? Like, and when you come across these individuals in this relationship, these connections, they have like a childish wound, an adult body. So, you're trying to help this person, right? So, anyways, but he had a whole karmic, putting all this stuff in his lies, all his lies in his ears, and everything that she said was who she was, okay? And anyways, and again, that's what real friends tell you, because they don't want you to get hurt, okay? So anyways, didn't listen to me, didn't choose to listen to me, and anyways, I was the one hurt. So I let this, I was very, gracefully let this go. I was, played on, used, his person, mocked, all this stuff like that, right? And I was the one that God sent to help and to love and as a blessing, you know what I mean? And this person did the opposite to me, okay? And again, continued, you know what I mean, stealing from me energetically. I didn't have much, okay? I worked hard, I worked 80 hours a week, you know what I mean? Like, I worked hard for everything up until this point, and then here I come, now more betrayal in my life, you know what I mean? And so I had to break this, and stole, you know what I mean? Like, worked hard, and then this person, like, I know this person's ugly side, ugly, nasty side. I know both of his sides, okay? So anyways, and nasty, you know, try to belittle me, try to put me down. This is where I talk about all this narcissistic abuse. Mind you, while I was over here trying to love, all I did in this connection, it was guilty of loving this person. Okay. And I don't, like I said, I healed from all this. I don't feel bad. You know, I love who I become. You know what I mean? Like, and I healed gracefully, you guys, from so much. Okay. So much. And anyways, but this was person where he chose to plot against me, you know, and just, you know, didn't get to know my motives, nothing, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm over here trying to help this person. Like, you're supposed to work with me, not against me, you know what I mean? And again, anyway, so this is where karma came in. Now, women with MPD are really jealous people, okay? They're not going to tell you that, but they're very jealous. I went through all this. This person chose to be in competition. I'm not in competition, nobody. What was right for me, already mine, you know what I mean? Like, and you're sitting here trying to, you know, I was in this connection with this person, and you're sitting here, again, I go through all this, you know, low vibrational energies that I evolved, okay? So put me in karmic situations, try to make me an option. Now, one thing, you guys, I know who I am. That is your power, because no one is you in this world. I don't care if you have a twin, a triplet, a quadruplet. You all have different fingerprints, so no one can be you. And I know that. I'm not dumb enough. There's, you know, plenty of fish in the sea, we say that, right? But there's no one like you. There's only one of you, and that is your power. Remember that, okay? So anyways, and so I'm over here healing, and while this person was doing all this, I'm healing, I'm evolving. Again, still trusting, giving this person opportunity. This person has so many opportunities, okay? So many opportunities, and he kept choosing to use me. He just thought I was just going to wait around while he was out here, you know, being with other women and doing, you know, and so-called connection, you know what I mean? Like, and anyways, well, he ended up, you know, getting someone pregnant, or, you know, giving, you know, and then he chose to, you know, I guess, when this person chose to actually give someone a connection, he gave it to the wrong person. So he goes and gives the person, right? Anyways, I'll give you an update. He chose to give the person the connection. So the one person, you know, and he was warned. He was very warned. And again, that's what real friends do, okay? I'm going to share that with you guys. They're going to tell you the truth. You know, you may not want to hear it. It's not, you may not. But real people are going to tell you because they don't want to see you hurt, okay? So this person was in illusions. He didn't want to hear nothing I said. You know what I mean? He wouldn't, so I left it alone. Just let it go about while this person was doing all this stuff, you know. And in my mind, I knew that later on, eventually, this person's going to regret every single thing. Everything's going to come to clear. Everything's going to be crystal clear to this person. All this stuff, you know, and I'm the one that's going to be hurt through all this. And I had to heal from all this. Well, I could still feel a little bit teary, but still a little bit in my heart. But anyways, so, right? So I ended up having kids, whatever, you know. And anyways, but while this person knew who I was, because he held on to me this whole time, okay? So that's why I'm going to share this. This whole time, this person still held on to me. Never let me go, you know what I mean? While this person was out here doing whatever, you know what I mean? Now, we could have come together and talked about this and gone our separate in the beginning, and none of this should have happened, right? But then here comes, you know, he was involved, all these people. Now, I guess, the karmic, all these people found out about me that he shared. Now I'm dealing with jealous, envy, females, okay? Anyways, in this connection, you know what I mean? I was always the one connected to this person, of course, you know what I mean? Like, and I was the divine being, you know, in this situation. So he's stealing me from me, right? While he was pouring into everybody else, and then treats me like garbage, okay? I mean, I went through a lot and treated me like garbage. All these people he poured into, you kept 3 or 4 people, and they still weren't me, you know what I mean? Period, you know? Anyways, and so, like, I am a divine being, like, I'm the bomb, I'm the shit, I know who I am, you guys, like, I do everything, you know what I mean? I've learned, very humble person. I know I did everything from the mud, from the beginning of my walk to now. I'm street smart, like, I just, you know, I know who I am, like, I'm very confident in who God's called me to be, you know, he's equipped you for who you are and what he has for you in your plan, your purpose. Anyway, so all this stuff, you know, it was painful, you know what I mean? Like, and now I'm confident, I know who I am. But while this person was trying to break me, okay, I still had to lift myself up. And, you know what I mean? Like, God built me up through this. So now I'm going through all this, you know, I'm in head, you know, with witchcraft. Not only now, mind you, all these people were influences. And it's not just their fault. all these people that influence this person to do that. You know what I mean? This person had to take accountability. It's not just their fault. Yes, all these people influenced him and spoke lies, and he thought he got the shit. You know what I mean? He did. And then he let his pride, instead of knowing, he knew, and God knew, okay? I don't care what he says. God pointed out many situations, and this person still chose a lie, and you still chose not to choose. And then the karmic was doing witchcraft on me, or on this connection, doing all this stuff to break it up, okay? So, anyways, and I'm just trying to give you guys a rundown. And so now, like, mind you, I'm evolving. I'm like, F this shit. You know what I mean? This is just too toxic. You get what I mean? And they're very toxic beings. Narcissists are very, very toxic, okay? And, that's all they know. That's all they grew up around. You know what I mean? Or, like, that's all they know. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so this is where you have to, choose to unlearn all that stuff. It's unhealthy. This is where I come along in this person's journey to show a different way. You know what I mean? And anyways, and that's what I did. I'm very, God's seen everything. He's seen my heart, how genuine I was to this person, these people. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I'm very high vibration. Even when I was unhealed, you guys, I was still like really mature, and in this connection and stuff like that. And it's like, anyways, and so I dealt with a lot of low vibrational, jealous, just, competition. Like, I'm not competing with nobody. You know what I mean? Like, this person knew who I was, and he chose to listen to people and go into all these other connections, and still, you know what I mean? Like I said, these people don't change. You know what I mean? Like, and this is where I say it's not our job to change people or heal their wounds. That is up to them. Now, I learned my lesson, okay? I did what I needed to do. I put a mirror to this person's face to see how ugly and nasty he was, and that's what I was called to do. And part of this connection, and I healed from all this stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't care. A lot of people that this person was to don't even know me, okay? So, and the fact that you would listen to, that just shows something, or you would be so easily bribed by somebody, you know what I mean? Like, here, do this and come on my side, you know what I mean? Like, why would you want somebody anyways, you know what I mean? Obviously, you haven't done your work. Obviously, you haven't healed. Obviously, you're not rooted and you're grounded in who you are, for someone just to dangle some bait, or, whatever it is, money, or whatever it is that he chose on his end to, be bribed in. And anyways, and he chose his side, so he stuck, and this karmic was doing things, and he knew about it, and he didn't say nothing to me. He, like, this was not even like, again, I was being used energetically, siphoning my energy, putting, and to that, the only reason that lasted that long was because of my energy, you know what I mean? And this kind of connection. So, this is before the energy was cut off, before I cleared him from my energy, all this stuff, okay? And it's crazy what I would do. But anyways, and again, I went through a lot, and then this person, again, still was, wouldn't leave me alone, and just very nasty to me. Very dark, okay? I mean, just like unbelievable, and so anyways, and I still rise above all this, you know what I mean? Like, so this just shows you why I am so confident, even more than I was before, okay? And just knowing who I am in Christ and stuff like that. And so this whole dynamic was so gross to me, you guys, like, and I mean, like, I'm telling you, I had to do a lot of healing work and forgiving. And then not just that, this person would continue, and I moved on, and he would just continue. Anyways, but again, he chose, again, then that happens. Now I healed, and I evolved from all of this. And, and this is so crazy when you're a vessel of God's. You heal, you evolve, and you forgive. So it's just like this gift you have, in your heart. It's just like, zoom. Okay, I forgive you, bye. And so you learn this lesson, things didn't work out, and at first you thought, oh, I could see this person, blah, blah, blah. And then it ends up not happening. It doesn't work out. That's life sometimes, you know what I mean? And God has different destinies now, you know what I mean? And once you thought it would, now it's not, you know what I mean? Because certain people make certain choices, you know what I mean? And this person did those choices. He knew who he was. He knew everything. He's not stupid, okay? And he just still chose. He just thought he could just ring about and come back around. And again, he had a lot of influence. It doesn't mean that's just their fault. All those people around them that try to, that helped him remove his spot, that helped him, kicked him out of his seat, right? Used him, lied to him, whatever, you know what I mean? He knows everything on his end. But anyways, chose to kick him out of spot. Now that's not just their, like I said, not their fault. If you have not grown, you cannot blame it on nobody else. You chose that in your life. You know what I mean? You chose to be influenced by these people. And this just goes to show, again, a spiritual thing, goes to show that just because a family or friends or you know them longer doesn't mean they're for you. I would have never done the stuff that these people would have done. Never. Okay? You know what I mean? Like, ever hurt this person. I would never put this person down. Again, this is part of the healing journey that this person had to choose, because he was so worried about what everybody image thought by coming over here. Why? By being with, you know what I mean? With a beautiful human being, an untoxic, a healthy human being. But he was, again, these are part of the healing on his end, where he has to break all these things, you know what I mean? And choose to break those in his life, you know what I mean? Like, worried about what everybody else thought. You know what I mean? And they kicked him out of spot. Now, eventually, right when they kick him out of spot, this is over. All those people are going to flake on him. You know what I mean? And that one person that he chose to hurt and work against is gone permanently. You know what I mean? And that's what happened in this situation. I'm gone. I healed from all this stuff, you guys, okay? I have no hate, okay? I'm going to tell you this right now. I can still cry a little bit because I went through so much, you guys. And I'm thankful this is done in my life. But I didn't deserve none of this, you guys. And there goes the tears. Okay, so anyways, I'm very thankful, you know, and I tell God every day, thank you for this, you know, because I've become better, you know, and I'm not someone that shows a lot, you know. I needed a lot of help, and this person was over here, you know. I did, you know, I was, you know, and this person, you know, that's why I share a lot of how nasty this person, you know what I mean, like, when I needed help, you know, I couldn't count on this person. You thought people in your life where you could count on them, you know, to get help, you know. I was literally connected to this person. So how can someone just betray you like that? You know what I mean? Like, from a soul connection, like, this connection was meant to be, we were the same on the inside, different on the outside, you know what I mean? And that's the whole point of this journey, right? You can never judge a book by its cover, you know what I mean? And anyways, but this person did so much, like, I have no trust. You know, you lost, like, any connection, any relationship, you betray that trust or cheat, lie, whatever, it's over. It's done. You know, there's nothing you come back from, you know. And on my end, I did all the work and healed, you know, and because I have the Holy Spirit. Because people don't have the Holy Spirit. But I have conviction and stuff like that. And, you know, it's just who I'm called to be, my character and this world, you know what I mean? And so I did a lot of healing on this, and I forgave this person and these people. And, you know, but I don't have to have, like I said, you don't have to have these people in your life. You know, you forgive them, you love them from afar. We have two different paths now. You know what I mean? So this is where you were God, you know, once you thought you know, it's your person or whatever, and it ends up not being, you know what I mean? And it happens in life, you know, sometimes, you know, and it's okay. You know what I mean? Like, God has better, you know what I mean? Like, and for you in your life, and he's amazing, you know what I mean? Like, and I share, you know, my passion and my journey, and it hopes to help other people, you know what I mean? Like, and I share a lot of things, you know what I mean? Like, and sometimes, like I said, the grass is where you water it, you know what I mean? And not always, you know. You could go in a relationship and water it, but if it's not the right person, if they don't have the right values or morals or anything like that, you're not going to grow. Get what I'm saying? So, and I share, you know, always remember what to look for. And I talk about a lot of this, you know, is to look for the inner things on people, you know, the character, the quality, family, like who they are, do they have passion, who are they evolved in. You know what I'm saying? You got to look for the inside and not what's on the outside of somebody, you know what I mean? And just because it's shiny doesn't mean it's gold, you know what I mean? Or, you know, just because it looks a certain way doesn't mean it's gold. You know, I've always been myself. Not, you know, I come from scratch, poverty, stuff like that. I started from nothing, you know what I mean? I am who I am. You meet me, as you see me on this camera, is who I am in person, okay? And just very genuine, loving, you know, I'm just badass out there, you know what I mean? Like, I love people. When you come around me, I make you feel like you're fucking $1 million, okay? Because, and that's my goal, you know what I mean? You should have those, you know, kind of people. You know, and that's why this person still hasn't forgotten me, and I only gave him a taste of me, you know what I mean, before I was healed, okay? Because I just generally love, you know what I mean? I know how to love myself, and I know when you love yourself, you can love others, you know what I mean? So, but anyways, and I really wanted to recap this, you know what I mean? Like, and not all is glitter is gold, you know what I mean? And again, spiritual lessons, this person has to learn his own spiritual lessons in his life, and I learned all of them, you know. And again, just like this person, you know what I mean? Like, you can't change people. They have to want to change and heal and look in the mirror. Of course, you know, this is where I share, like, the last person likes to have a lot of people around him, you know, because he doesn't want to face a shadow, you know. Of course, if you've done people dirty and dark, of course you're not going to want to face your shadow, right? Anyways, and so this is where they would have a lot of people, you know, because they don't want to be alone with themselves, you know. And I'm like, me, I love being alone with myself because I constantly do work. I'm like, that's where the light comes in, right? So this person starts doing work on himself. Literally, say this person generally starts doing the inner work on himself. You'll start seeing light out of himself. You know what I mean? Because he's removing that shadow, that darkness, you know what I mean, out of his life. And this is where you become a light worker. Now, they don't choose to do that. That's on their own, you know what I mean? But we have two separate paths, you know what I mean? Like, I chose to do that, and I continue to be a light, you know, and this is where the light exudes out of me because I keep doing the shadow work. I keep, you know, evolving. I keep healing, you know what I mean? But some people, you got to let go. They're not on two different paths, you know, and whatever he thought was gold out there is gold, you know. And again, just try to play the field and wanted to eat his cake and have his cake and eat it too, all this stuff, you know what I mean? Anyways, and so but you know, that's what lessons are. Eventually I knew, you know, this person's gonna regret everything, you know what I mean? He's gonna go through whatever God has him go through, awakening, all this stuff like that, and he's gonna see it is gonna hurt, you know what I mean? Like, and but you know, that's what happens. You reap what you sow. The wheels eventually turn. You know, I evolved it, and now I am. And it's so funny because when you go through all this hurt and pain, you're like, oh, I don't want nothing, and you know, because you're unhealed, you know what I mean? And after you go through all this toxic abuse from a narcissist or anything like that, like, you don't want that, you know what I mean? And now that I got this healed energy, you know, now it's like, oh, you know, Lord, actually, I have so much love to give, and this is where I call the counterfeits, you guys. They're called, they're a lesson before the blessing, you know what I mean? And these people are sent in our lives to be a lesson, you know, and the sooner we learn it, you know, the sooner we go to our blessing, you know what I mean? And again, I share a lot of this about, they have a spirit of delay, you know, they try to delay you, try to do all this stuff, you know what I mean? Like, and but anyways, like I said, but this, like I said, is over, like, done, like, healed, evolved. And again, it just shows you, again, there's a lot of spiritual lessons on this person's end, just like on mine. Just be careful who you judge. Be careful who you hurt. You know, not everybody is the same. Nope. You know what I mean? Some people God's called powerfully, you know what I mean? And so, or his anointed ones, you know what I mean? Like, this person played on me like I was dumb, and sure ain't dumb. Anyways, you guys, but I just want to share that, and God bless you. God bless this person. Like I said, I wish peace and joy, and, you know, I don't wish nothing, you know what I mean? Like, and I get that back, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sorry you made your decision the way you made it, you know, there's no hate, you know, and again, on my end, you know, and again, we could talk about forgiveness too, 70 times 70, you know, you would pay your mind after someone does you dirty and hurts you really bad, right? When you were just so genuine and kind. This is where that scripture comes. Sometimes the devil will try to reissue in that mind when you think of that person, or when that person comes to mind, or whatever the situation, right? And this is where God says, forgive 70 times 70. Because if God could forgive you, then why can't we forgive others, right? You're going in your life. Just think about your life, right? And, you know, you do stuff, whatever, and you're like, please forgive me, you know? And he forgives you, right? Well, this is the same thing with people. You know what I mean? Now, you know, God deals with people, you know, again, God will deal with these people in their own, you know, his own way, but you're going to reap. Everything we put out is what we're going to come back to us. You know what I mean? And, you know, I'm sorry this happened. Like, I genuinely am. You know, I'm sorry that this person, like I was talking with somebody else, how toxic, likes to say toxic family or whatever, likes to stay with toxic. You know what I mean? Like, they'll want their family member to be in a toxic, you know, because it, you know what I mean? Like, because that's just what they come from, you know what I mean? And so it's really sad, but, like, you know, it is what it is, you know what I mean? Like, again, like I said, I did my part, like the Lord said, And this is where God, now after all this stuff I went through, I get a new beginning. I get, you know what I mean? Because, God's seen everything, and how I dealt with this gracefully, you guys. And I mean, I dealt with a lot. I mean, and I'm thankful, for God's grace and healing on my life, and that I got through and I healed. And again, these people are welcome to watch, and I pray for their healing. I pray whatever that is, if they can change, it's like that wound they have, but again, people, they can make better choices in life, you know what I mean? Like, and when you try to, again, so I just share again, like I said, this person chose to work against me, and then the karmic chose this person, and it was like a game to them, and so now they're stuck with each other. Or, when you have a kid, you have to, you're bonded together. So, and, we both played on me, you know what I mean? Like, and so now I moved on, I moved on, and they could have, they're stuck with each other, you know what I mean? Like, and God's seen how evil and how nasty this person was towards me behind the scenes, and I've forgiven this person, again, great heart, beautiful. And that's why I am an empress, you know what I mean? Like, you go through all this stuff and you heal gracefully and you forgive, and you just, that's why God has called me on the throne, But anyways, so be careful. You can't force, you know what I mean? Like, when someone's trying to force you, doing this and doing that, and, forcing a connection, you can't force something that's not meant to be. You know what I mean? It's going to be turned into very, 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 very toxic. Or doing spell work on somebody to try to trap them or to keep them. You know what I mean? Like, this person was doing love spells on me. She was doing love spells. I mean, like, oh my God, I'm telling you guys, I've been through so much, okay? Anyways, but I have a lot of knowledge though. So I'm thankful for that. You know what I mean? I can help others, and a lot of knowledge from this. So, but anyways, I just want to share that and say, God bless you guys. And going forward, I'm excited for the, the new beginning He has me on. And, things in life are hard sometimes, you know what I mean? Like, and like I said, I pulled myself back up. And, but it's just thinking about that, like, God has something bigger and better. You got to think about that. God has a plan, you know what I mean? Like, no matter what lies and schemes, you know what I mean, that were done, God has a plan, you know what I mean? Like, and I feel that, and I'm, like I said, I'm very thankful for everything, and always thank Him for your trials, I always say, when you learn something, your time is not wasted, okay? When you learn and you have a lot of new knowledge and stuff like that you didn't have before, so your time was not wasted because you learned, you know what I mean? Knowledge, and now you can go forward with all that knowledge and not make the same mistakes, you know what I mean? And that's the whole point of lesson. God gives us grace, making one mistake is fine. You learn your lesson, right? But then it's when you go over and over and over and over and over, you know what I mean? Like, and so, but anyways, again, I pray, and nothing else about this, Lord. Thank you. This is long, but I wanted to get all this out in one video. But just a little update about this, spiritual thing. And I removed, like I said, I removed all this people's energies, you know what I mean? Like, again, him, all this that was involved and stuff like that. And again, there's no trust here. Like I said, I have nothing against this person, but this is like, I have no attraction, you know what I mean? Like, and, I don't, yeah, it's just done for me, and, but yeah, again, thank you guys for listening, and God bless these people. And again, like I said, all this stuff that was done for nothing, you know what I mean? All the lies, all the deceit, all the witchcraft, all that for nothing, you know what I mean? And yes, this person may have feelings or whatever, and I guess this is karma, you know what I mean? Like, you can't do all this stuff, hold back all these feelings, and all of a sudden now this person wants to share and talk when he didn't want to talk in the beginning, when he should have, you know what I mean? And now this person wants to talk to me or, share whatever he has to share. There's nothing to share. I don't need to share. Like I said, I didn't get no closure or like that. I don't need it because the way the person treated me. And yeah, I just don't need, I don't feel like I need to talk to this person. You know, when you want to talk to someone, it's because you want to work something out. I don't want nothing to do with this person. Like, I've forgiven this person. I moved on. Over 3 years, honey, I'm without seeing this person. No. And all of a sudden you just want to pop up. You know what I mean? Like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, now everything's encountered, whether the Lord does want this person to apologize, you know what I mean? Or whatever, for whatever reason, like, I don't really genuinely need that. But again, you know, like I said, I'm just different, and I know sometimes God like will make people so they could get their peace and they can move on with their life. You know what I mean? Especially when you do something wrong like that and you just cut off and run, and a beautiful person that showed nothing but love, of course God's gonna not stop letting you think about that person, or you know what I mean? And so until they, you know, make it right or make it an apology. And I don't need nothing to be made right, you guys, in my life. Like, I sincerely forgiven, you know, and I know God is going to bless me, and, you know, in whatever way he sees, and, you know, going forward in my life, you know, and everything that was taken from me what does he say? He will multiply it, or he'll give you double for your trouble, you know what I mean? Kind of thing. So, and triple for them, you know, and they're going to reap, you know, and that's, sometimes it's karma, is moving on, separate different paths, you know what I mean? And, this is nothing, what I share with you guys, what I've been through, nothing. You can only see a little percentage of me, you know what I mean? Like, and I held myself very well, you know, during all this, you know, and with class, you know, and presented myself. And I went through a lot of pain, and sometimes, you know, I've been through on my own all since I was younger, so I couldn't trust this person to ask for help, you guys. Like, so I mean, there's just so much stuff I went through, you guys, behind the scenes, like, so much pain. And like I said, I just, you know, when you put someone through that much pain, you don't want nothing to do with them. You don't want to look at them. And, yeah, I'm just thankful for God in my life. And, oh, God. And I'm just thankful just for his love this whole time he was with me, you know. And you have people like this, you know, and these are what we call, you know, these people have really ugly souls, and they need to heal in their life, you know what I mean? Like, and I'll talk about that, you know, bullying, all that stuff like that. And I did what I needed to do, and I mirrored back to how gross, how nasty this person was, and that's all I needed to do. And no, but I just want to say God bless you guys. Again, thank you for listening to this long video. And God bless these people. Again, you know, and yeah, I'm just super excited. Really, like, I've closed out the chapter, you know, but, and I'm just excited, you know. I'm excited, I'm not excited, because you go through so much and you heal, and now you just, like, heal this version, but you're so tired because you've been through all this stuff. And, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, and so, and I'm just thankful, you know, to God, and I'm not the victim, I'm the blessing. I don't have victim mindset. Never have, never did, you know. I just learned how to take care of myself, you know. You don't have that choice in the life I came from. You don't have a choice to play victim. You get up and work, or you don't eat, period. You know what I mean? And like I said, I'm excited for real, genuine people in my life, you know, and my healed energy. I've learned so much, and I'm excited for really high vibrational people in my life. And so yeah, thank you for your love and support, all you real ones out there. Anyone that's ever been through hard stuff, you know. But again, authenticity and real genuine people in my life. And like I said, I'm real from the day when I was. Only thing is that my wisdom went up, My knowledge went up. I've grown. I've evolved. I became more confident. Still the same person though. Never change who you are. Just change your knowledge, change your wisdom, learn your lessons, and grow. Become better. Be the change you want to see. God bless.